You're listening to the Platform Launchers podcast. I'm John Stange, and it's great to have you with us again this week because we're going to talk about building and growing and monetizing your online platform. We're going to talk about taking your passion, turning it into a platform, and letting that become a paycheck that feeds you and feeds your family and pays your mortgage and pays off your car and does all the fun stuff that we want a paycheck to do. And this week, we're going to be talking about this idea of hospitality and over delivering and implementing concepts from a particular book. And I'm very eager to get into some of these details with you. Before we jump into that, I just want to let you know that if you jump over to platformlaunchers.com, I have a free gift for you at the website. You'll find it right on our homepage. It's our free 21-day platform development planning guide. If you're looking to build a message-based online platform, just visit platformlaunchers.com and download our 21-day platform development planning guide, and it'll help you figure out what your platform should be about and what kind of content you should create and what kind of schedule you should release that content on. It's a very simple guide that'll help you get started, and I think you'll find it valuable. Again, it's at platformlaunchers.com. Stop by the website. You can download it in the next 5 seconds if you were that ambitious. But now, I mentioned in just a moment, we're going to be talking about this idea of over-delivering and demonstrating hospitality. And as we prepare our minds to be thinking about that, I want to tell you a story. It's a very fun story that my wife and I like to tell that happened within the past 2 years, a little over 2 years ago in our day-to-day life. And basically what happened was, let me just create the setting for us now. So it was a little over 2 years ago, and it happened to be a beautiful summer night. And it was a Friday. And so when it's a Friday night, what my wife and I do is we go and just have a date. And we usually just go someplace to eat. And sometimes we get ice cream or we get coffee. And sometimes we'll just take a walk together. But we always carve out Friday evening for a date. And so it was a beautiful summer evening, a little over 2 years ago. And my wife and I were preparing to go on a nice date together on that beautiful evening. And just prior to this, maybe about a month earlier, I had purchased a Mazda MX-5. They used to call these Miatas, but now they call it the Mazda MX-5. And it's got a retractable top, so it's a convertible. And again, with it being such a beautiful night, I was looking forward to taking a nice drive that evening together and enjoying the weather and just enjoying the conversations that we would have along the way. And when we got in the car, so we knew we were going to be doing something together that evening, but when we got in the car, my wife, Andrea, she asked me, she said, "Hey, where are we going?" It's a very logical question, right? Not a question we would expect to be all that surprising or out of the norm because we hadn't discussed where we were going. We just got in the car and here we were. And she said, "Where are we going?" And I said, "Well, here's the thing. I don't actually know," which is maybe not the best way to start off a date, but this is how I started off. I said, "I don't actually know where we're going, but here are my intentions. My intention is to drive northeast for a little while, and I'm just going to take whatever roads look interesting to us. So if we see a road that looks like maybe it's got some pretty homes on it that we want to look at, or just some nice scenery or nice landscaping, whatever it may be, we're just going to take whatever road looks nicest, and we're just going to see where we end up. And then when we start feeling hungry, which we knew eventually we would, we'll just eat at whatever restaurant we're closest to, as long as it looks like it's a good place to eat." And I said, "So what do you think about that?" The idea is we'll just enjoy the night cruise and just find ourselves eating somewhere along the way. And she said, "That sounds wonderful." And so that's exactly what we did. So we set out on our evening journey, just enjoying driving through Southeast Pennsylvania, through Bucks County, enjoying the landscaping, enjoying the trees, enjoying the hills, enjoying some covered bridges or some covered bridges on the journey and some nice things to see. And about an hour into the journey, we started to get hungry. And so we started looking around. We realized, all right, it's about time for us to find a place. And we found a place called the Plumsteadville Inn. Now, if we're friends on Facebook, you've been seeing our posts from this place, but it's a restaurant that was founded, get this, in 1751. So I live in a part of Pennsylvania that's near where a whole bunch of stuff took place in the 16 and 1700s. A lot of buildings were built here. A lot of historical things related to the founding of the United States took place right here in Southeast Pennsylvania. We're not too far from Philadelphia. And this particular restaurant was founded in 1751. So I guess it's got to be good if it's lasted since 1751. But we had never eaten there before. But one of the good signs that kind of tipped us off to the fact that the place was probably going to be good was the fact that the parking lot was full. And it's a big parking lot. So we thought, all right, if the parking lot's full, it's probably a popular option and people wouldn't be eating here. There wouldn't be that many people eating here if this place wasn't all that good. So that gave it a vote of confidence, even though we didn't really know anything about the place or the menu or anything like that. So we parked the car and we walked inside and they gave us a table. And I have to tell you, we enjoyed a fantastic dining experience. It was wonderful. And in fact, we loved it so much that we've been going there nearly every Friday night ever since. And it's been a little over 2 years that we've been doing that. It's very, very rare that we don't go there on a Friday night. Only a few times a year we don't end up there on a Friday night, which is kind of amazing. But here's a few things that I like about the Plumsteadville Inn. First of all, everything on the menu is delicious. We've tried so many things that they have on the menu. We have never found something on that menu that we didn't enjoy. Everything on the menu, it's delicious. And they change the menu up seasonally. So it gets some new additions every 3 months or so. They switch it up. It's all delicious. Literally everything is delicious. The place, when you're in the restaurant, it's clean. And their staff makes a point to keep it clean the whole time. They've got people on staff that just go around looking for the most random things to clean up. If you get an appetizer and you finish that appetizer, it seems like within 1 second of you finishing it, someone's at your table saying, "Can I clear your used plate away for you?" And they take it away, and it's just they're very attentive to that kind of detail related to cleaning. The place is also well decorated and it has different themes for the different parts of the restaurant. And it's nice on the outside too. They've got beautiful landscaping around the property. So it's nice to eat outside sometimes as well. The staff, very friendly, also very attentive. And we've also noticed that some of them have started to feel like good friends at this point. They know us, we know them, and we enjoy interacting with them. They pay attention to detail. They also have live music on Friday nights, and they rotate through different artists that live in the area, and they always have really good live music. Sometimes I feel like they're just looking at my playlist on my phone and they're copying what's in that playlist because I know most of the songs that they're singing, and it's stuff that I listen to a lot. So I'm definitely in the target audience of the musicians that sing there. They also reward diners with generous discounts if you're someone that's part of their frequent diner program. And so they'll take a portion off your bill from time to time just because you eat there regularly. They don't have to do that for us. We like eating there anyway. And it's not like the place is ridiculously expensive, but they still do that. And if we have any unique or special requests, they honor them. So I find myself bragging about the Plumsteadville Inn all the time. I share about the place on social media. The owner of the restaurant knows that I'm doing that as well. And so we've developed a little bit of a friendship as we come in. He always takes the time to greet us and stops by our table and we talk for a little bit. It's always very nice. And as a business owner in the online world, I look at all this, I look at what they're doing, I see the things that they're up to, and I try and pay attention because I'm trying to learn ways as I observe other business owners. I'm trying to learn the things that they're doing that really appeal to me so that I can incorporate good ideas like that into the things that I'm building. And in general, I'll say this, if you're in the online world and you're trying to create content, you're in, some form of platform development, you got a message-based platform, you're trying to communicate a variety of things. In general, I think the restaurant industry provides some of the best examples of what it's like to create a great experience for your customers and to serve them well by exceeding their expectations. You can learn a lot from good restaurants that make a point to do this. So keep that all in mind as I share this next piece, because not long ago, a very helpful book on this particular subject, it actually came to the market, and maybe you've heard of it. It's a book called Unreasonable Hospitality. And it's written by a restaurateur, Will Guidara. And Will Guidara he's not still, he actually sold his interest in it, but Will Guidara was the co-owner of a restaurant in New York City called 11 Madison Park. And for a while there, it was considered the number one restaurant in New York City, 11 Madison Park. And in his book, Unreasonable Hospitality, Will Guidara, what he does is he outlines his philosophy and he outlines his approach to hospitality in the restaurant industry. And the subtitle of the book, he says the book is all about the remarkable power of giving people more than they expect. So just think about that, the remarkable power of giving people more than they expect. That's his premise. That's his goal. That's his desire in business and the premise of his book. So Guidara, he has a helpful philosophy of hospitality that I think online entrepreneurs like us, so if you're watching us on YouTube right now, if you're listening to us via the podcast, you're an online entrepreneur most likely, or you're considering becoming one. I think there are things we could learn from Guidara. I think that there are things that we could learn from his book and from his premise that he kind of wrote this book under. And so what I want to do, I'm going to synthesize some of the main things he talks about. And I hope you'll find it valuable because I certainly find it valuable for the things that I'm doing. And I imagine we're in a very similar boat. You know, if you're an online entrepreneur, there are principles in this book that Guidara outlines that I think we can all benefit from. So here are a few of his guiding principles and some of the concepts that he elaborates on. And number one, and you see this all throughout the book, he talks about this idea of anticipating and exceeding expectations. And so you see, you know, as you're reading his words and you're hearing his stories and seeing the examples that he illustrates with, Guidara believes in going above and beyond to not only understand the needs and the desires of guests, but anticipate those needs and desires. He wants you to be thinking ahead and trying to almost read the minds of the customers that you're trying to serve. And the way he puts it, you know, this means providing service that surprises and delights, often in ways that guests wouldn't expect. So he advises that we anticipate and exceed expectations. Then he talks about this idea of creating memorable experiences. Well, what does that look like? Well, you have Guidara emphasizing the idea of creating memorable experiences or memorable moments, like he talks about, for guests as they utilize what you're producing. And he says that this could be created or this could be facilitated through sometimes just personalized gestures. So just making something very personal for the people that you're trying to serve or offer them something unique. He gives some examples of unique offerings that he's able to offer the people that he's serving, or just adding unexpected touches that leave a lasting impression. And he says it's a big deal to create memorable experiences as you're trying to serve people. Then he goes on from there to talk about attention to detail. Now, me being a little bit OCD, and some people that would know me in my day-to-day life would say I'm more than just a little bit OCD, but regardless, it ministers to me when he talks about attention to detail. I wish more people paid attention to detail. But you have Guidara, he places a high value on, I think you'd even say like a meticulous attention to detail in all aspects of the dining experience. So from the food that he's serving, he's very attentive to the detail, how it looks, how it's presented, the temperature, the flavor combinations, all of that. The ambiance, the service, all of that. He pays great attention to all the detail that he can. And what he wants to do is he wants to ensure just a seamless and, as he would say, an extraordinary experience for guests. So great attention to detail. And then he goes on from there to talk about empathy and genuine care, which is something you wouldn't automatically assume that you're going to receive from a restaurant that you choose to dine at, but he focuses on that. Empathy, genuine care. So you have Guidara. What he does is he encourages his staff to approach their work not just as work, but he encourages them to remain very people focused. He wants them to genuinely care for the people that they're serving. He wants them to have genuine empathy for their guests. So he encourages his staff, look, be attuned to the needs of the people you're serving. Be responsive to their preferences, even if it's something that seems out of the norm. You have a few short minutes, maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours to serve these people. Care about their preferences, be responsive to their preferences during the time that you serve them, and treat them with warmth and treat them with sincerity. Let them know that you genuinely care. Then he goes on from there. And by the way, even if, like, I'm only halfway through the list of things that I wanted to share from his principles, but even if we just focused on the first four that he shares, I think that we would serve our customers and our audiences quite well. But he goes on from there, from talking about empathy and genuine care, to talk about this idea of adaptability and flexibility. And this is something that I think a lot of business owners should take time to notice, because many people are not very adaptable and certainly not very flexible because they want things done their way. But you have Gadara in his book acknowledging the fact that every guest is different. And many of the people that you're going to be serving in the online world, in the retail world, in the business world, whatever it may be, they're going to have unique preferences and, in their minds, unique requirements. And so he encourages business owners or people in leadership or people that are in influence to be adaptable and to be flexible when you're accommodating these preferences. And again, these aren't things that are right or wrong. It's just preferences of the people you're trying to serve. It's crucial, he says, when you're providing exceptional hospitality. I'll give you an example of how this has been playing out recently in some of the coaching that I've done. Typically, I offer coaching in 1 hour blocks, but lately I've had some clients ask, "Hey, can I chop that up into smaller blocks? Can I pay for an hour, but can I use it in small sections?" And I look at that and I think, all right, well, that's not typically how I thought I'd be doing coaching, but I keep getting requests like that. In fact, I got a request like that earlier today, and I thought, well, you know what? I think I need to be adaptable. I need to be flexible. If this is what serves somebody better, then that's what I'm going to do. And Gadara in his book, he says, do that, right? Be flexible, be adaptable so that you're meeting people where they're at and serving them in the way they need to be served. Then he goes on to talk about our own development, and he believes in continuous improvement. He wants to create a culture within any business that he leads that's a culture of continuous improvement. So he's always seeking feedback, and he's encouraging others to seek feedback. He's encouraging people to learn from their mistakes. He's encouraging people to strive to enhance the guest experience and just continuously improve to the greatest degree that they're able to do so, and to have that mindset of growing and developing and building things all along the way. Then he goes on from there to talk about empowering and supporting your staff. Now, most of us that are in forms of leadership, most of us that are leading groups or doing different things where we've got people that we're working with or a team that we're surrounding ourselves with, there are people that are counting on us to give them good counsel or good wisdom or good direction. And you have Gadara, what he does is he places a strong emphasis on empowering and supporting the people who work with him and for him. So he wants to empower and support his staff, because he feels that when team members feel valued, so the people that are on your team, if they feel valued and they feel empowered, so the idea is not that they just feel valued, but they feel empowered to make decisions or to have their ideas incorporated into what's being built. If that's the case, if they feel valued and empowered, they're more likely to provide exceptional service, and it also develops a deeper sense of loyalty to your business. So that's a very important thing. If you have people that are part of your team, make sure they feel empowered, make sure they feel supported. One other thing I'll bring up that's a principle that he brings up in the book, and that's this: the idea of community and connection. Gadara, he believes in the power of building a sense of community and connection within the restaurant and within those that they're serving. And so what he tries to do is he tries to foster a positive work environment for the staff. And at the same time he's doing that, he wants to create a welcoming space for guests, because it creates community. And where there's community, people connect. And where there's connection, you end up having kind of a deeper sense of loyalty that gets built for the business. It becomes stickier. It becomes more connected. It becomes something that people value over the long term, as opposed to it being just a one-time experience at one particular restaurant. In his context, he says, like, this is the idea of why people would keep coming back to something, because they feel connected to it and there's a sense of community there. Now, let's go back to this idea of the things that we're doing. Most of us, again, if you're listening to this podcast, or if you're watching us via YouTube, or if you're part of our members club, which I really appreciate, you're live here on the call as I'm sharing these things. If you're building a business, an online business in particular, or if you're building a message-based platform, understand that that's not all that different from running a restaurant when you really think about it. I know that many of us probably don't think about what we're doing like it's running a restaurant, but when you look at the examples that Gadara gives in his book, and when you think about the nature of what we do, there is a lot of overlap. There is a lot of similarity because we're trying to serve people and make their lives a little bit better. We're trying to attempt to give people more than they'd expect. We're trying to provide a menu of products and a menu of services that people can select from. And we're hoping that if we serve others well, we'll get additional opportunities to serve them again in the future. And that's very much the mindset and the experience that those that would be running a successful restaurant would also be espousing, right? Now, there's a statement I want to share with us that Will Guidara shares in the book that I hope it sticks in your mind. I think it's going to stay in my mind. It's kind of an interesting take on hospitality. But one of the things that he says, I'm just going to quote him directly in the book, and he says this very early in the book. He says it like this. He says, "Service is black and white. Hospitality is color." So just think about that statement. What do you think he means by that? When he says service is black and white, hospitality is color. So just consider that for a moment. Basically, there are basic tasks of service that we could all reasonably expect a business owner to focus on, just the basic activities that go into serving people, right? But then when you think about hospitality, especially hospitality that's done well, isn't that what gives service its personality? Hospitality, that's the color. Service is black and white. Hospitality is the color. That's what makes something vibrant. That's what makes something pop. And he says, essentially, unreasonable hospitality, that's the color that truly sets your business apart from the rest. If you get the chance to read Will Guidara's book, again, it's called Unreasonable Hospitality. I would definitely encourage you to check it out. I was just talking to my friend David Steininger. He's live on the call here with me. He's a member of our members club. He's the self-employment sidekick if you want to check him out on YouTube. But he said, you know what? This is the second time. We were just talking about this before we went live. He said, this is the second time that somebody has brought up this book to him today. So word of this book, I think, is definitely getting around, and it's a bestseller for a reason. But if you get the opportunity to read Guidara's book, I'd definitely encourage you to check it out. I think you'll find it genuinely interesting, particularly if you serve in a position of leadership or online influence. If you're in a position of leadership, if you're in a position of online influence, I would highly encourage you to read that book. Definitely check it out. Because when others go out of their way to serve us well, what do? Well, we can't help but share about how wonderful they are. We talk about it. We brag about them. It's a big deal, right? And if that's the kind of response that we'd like our customers or our audiences to express, let's start giving them much more than they would naturally expect. Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara. Check it out. I hope it inspires you. I find the concept inspiring very much. When it comes to my business and my platform and all the things I'm trying to do online to serve people. Lots and lots of stuff to learn from that good content that he's put out there. Before we finish up, I just want to let you know, if you're listening to us online, that we have, again, as I mentioned at the start of this episode, we've got our 21-day platform development planning guide. You can find that at platformlaunchers.com. But this is what I really hope you'll do, and I hope you'll take action on this. If you're somebody that's been on the fence trying to figure out how to build an online platform and you're not really sure where to start or how to go about doing this, can I encourage you not to keep trying to do that alone? We have a members club that we'd invite you to take a test drive of, and you could do that for free for a couple weeks. And you can see all the details about that on the membership page at platformlaunchers.com. And we would love to invite you to join us. Become part of our members club. Become part of the things that we're doing. We would love to incorporate you in everything we're doing, and we'd love to be able to help you with building your online platform. So definitely check it out. Take a free 2-week test drive of the Members Club, and we'd love to see you on one of these live calls as well at a future date. But that's it for us this week. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being part of our calls each week, and for listening to our podcast and checking us out on YouTube. We hope you have an awesome week, and we look forward to catching up with you again right here next time. Take care.